Hey, everybody. Grab your gear. We're heading to the beach. We got some OG discussions. The original gang that put Orange County on the map here. We got a couple of the OGs in the house here today. And with the man who knows them all, Rod Gantos.
Paul.
Yeah.
Wow, the introductions are getting better. 8 years into the show, finally,
Finally
right?
figuring it out.
Wow, big clap for Paul Roberts. Yes, hello. He's making it happen.
I figured it out. Yeah.
Oh, we have OGs and we have goats. We got a goat right here, right?
Got a couple, that's right.
Yeah, he does not want to be an OG. I don't know what's the problem with him, right? Especially now that he's put on a beard. Can everybody look at Pascal's new beard? Okay, he's definitely a goat.
We have a beard club tonight.
We have a beard club tonight.
Yes,
But no, Wings, man, that's classic.
That's the classic Manny goat beard
I
right
think
there.
last time I saw you, it was at SoFi.
Okay.
And you were up in you guys were doing like a pop-up or something. This was like 2 years ago, maybe?
We were doing a show on a non-game day.
No, it was a game. There was a
Was it a
game.
game?
I was there watching a game, and you guys were there. I think it was SoFi. And I'm looking across this, and if anybody's been to SoFi, it's not a small food court,
No.
right? I'm looking across the whole small court, and I noticed two things, and I knew exactly who was there. It was the beard and the Ronald McDonald socks. Those things, I'm like, there's Wing. He's all the way over there.
Do you ever not wear the Ronald McDonald socks? Because I've seen you out and about.
It's been this thing because of the pandemic, right?
Right.
Because one of my buddies, Charles Antis,
Yeah.
was in charge of the Capitol campaign.
Yeah.
Right.
And when 2020 hit, the campaign stalled at about 10 million. They were
Yeah.
about 4 million short. So he said, hey, we need to kind of create awareness, da-da-da.
Right.
And in the entire group, as far as I know, I'm still the only guy wearing shorts. So they needed somebody like a CEO type that could, basically support the
Represent.
socks.
Right.
Represent.
So he gave me a pair, and the joke was anybody that makes fun of it pays you $500 because that's what we're going to sell them for.
Now, can I tell you that Charles Antis was in here the other day? We do a show for South County Outreach.
Oh, yeah.
And he was in on their show.
With LaBal?
With
Yeah.
LaBal.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't have the socks on.
See, he owes me $500.
See, he does that too because
Didn't
he's
have
on.
him
We're on the board. He and I are on the board for the Center for Leadership at
Yep.
Cal State Fullerton.
Yep.
And I always watch to see if he's wearing them or not. And he does sneak by sometimes without
Yes.
them, but most of the times he's pretty good about it.
Yeah, so the guys in the group, if I catch them, I basically point to them, and they already know, yes, you owe me
Yeah,
$500.
$500.
There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
and they did a great job on the new edition.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Anybody who hasn't been at the Ronald McDonald House should go and take a look. It's a great operation, a great group of people too. Is what's his name still there? The executive director.
He's still there.
Bruce-
Ruth and a couple of the gals are there running.
Yeah.
They do all the stuff. But we were there 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
because the fire patients
Yeah.
from Pasadena got displaced. So I got a 24-hour notice to say, hey, Wing, can you bring 90 meals tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because we got all these families coming in. So rallied the troops and went out there. And then before I knew it, this guy
Pascal,
here gets
yeah.
me, and then it's been a whirlwind ever since.
Yeah, and kudos to you guys. I mean, you've always stepped up, and I mean, I've been watching you guys do this, and you COVID with the Love Drop, with Eric and Blue Sea,
Yep.
and you guys were really. I mean, I remember going down. I think it was a hospital in LA one time.
Oh, yeah.
That you guys we delivered the food to first responders actually at that time.
You
right?
ask us, we just say yes.
Yes, you just say yes.
Be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just say.
You expect everybody to say we chef, but then you say we to everything, right? So
I'm hoping they'll tell some of the stories of the 80s. Is that around when LC became something, an entity, its own, into the world, not just sleepy, distant suburbia of LA? Somehow the surf industry, when did you come, Pascal, in the 80s? Sometime?
84, yeah.
Yeah.
And when did Yahoo's?
I started 88, but I moved to Orange County in 1975.
So it seems like that 80s was, and that's when all the surf brands, we were talking about the Hurleys
Yeah.
and
And
the
that's just-
Stu's.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so let's do a generational
Yeah.
check-in, right?
Yeah.
Boomer, I know.
Right. I moved
X
to
or boomer?
I moved to LA in
I'm
1980.
baby
though.
boomer.
Baby boomer.
Yeah.
Late boomer?
Early. because
Early boomer. So
61.
you guys are boomers.
Yeah.
You're a boomer.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest one in the room. What about you, Russ? Russ is off camera.
We have Russ
Russ
Chun here
Russ
today,
is
sitting off camera.
He doesn't want to be in the shot.
He bumped into us just to get his free
He came
T-shirt,
in- he
his
came for a-
sweatshirt.
he came for a
bumped from us.
sweatshirt.
He bummed a free sweatshirt.
Huh?
I turned 61 next
So he's.
Oh, so you're a boomer too.
Yeah.
So I'm the only one who's a Gen
You're the
X. I'm a
baby.
first-year Gen X. Actually, today's my birthday.
Is it
So,
really?
Yeah,
Oh,
everybody,
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah. No, I didn't say that, but I was like, I feel like I'm the only one that's the youngest one in the room. So thank you for all showing up and making me feel the youngest on my birthday. But yeah, so
Did Donald Trump call you?
Huh?
Did Donald Trump
no,
call
for
you?
some reason he didn't. I
Oh,
don't
come
know.
on.
No,
thought he
no,
would this
but
year.
there was actually there was some people that were trying to get me to the inaugural.
I had
Yeah.
a friend
Yeah.
that actually went, and they said it was a blast.
That's what I heard too.
Whether
Yeah.
you whether
What
you're
do you
left,
mean?
right, or center, it would be a blast to go to one
Was
of
it
those
like
parties.
a stand?
I
The inaugural.
reside right here in the middle.
I mean, yeah, I think a lot of people in the
Was it
room
like a
were right there
a
with you.
stand-up
so.
show?
No, you guys are all baby boomers. You better sit down. Sorry. Okay, that's the last one I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But Wing, I mean, speaking of which, by the way, and maybe to Paul's point, right? What is it? Because you've always been involved. I mean, Pascal's always saying yes. You are saying yes to everything. I mean, you had an event yesterday night that I know about,
Yeah.
right? And by the way, cigars and bourbon for the Catholic Church. Hats off to you, my friend. Because I don't know how you did that without white wine and sacramental wine being served. Yeah, and,
It pays to know the bishop.
it was
think they're
hilarious. I'm like, I need to try to make it to this thing just because you don't usually hear Catholic Church, cigars,
I got to
and
interrupt you
bourbon.
though. So I am a good Irish Catholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still go to church every
Yeah.
week, and
They serve bourbon at your church?
no, honestly, they have this like after talks where they're trying to get people, men to come into men's group to participate,
okay.
and nobody's coming, I guess. And the young priest that's at our parish at San Francisco Solano says, "Hey, we're going to try something different. We got cigars and bourbon." And all the men are like, "Yeah, we're in."
way.
We'll
I
come and
think
talk
you're
to-
about to build up a whole bunch of congregations with that.
I see you. I
Smart.
see you Sunday.
Well, I'm
I'll
Irish.
see you Sunday.
I'm Irish, so we always the Irish priests always drank. Come on,
see you
know.
So what is it? Is it a generational thing where we are just sort of like wired to be involved in stuff, to step up, to kind of leave people better than you found them? Do you think? I mean, what got you kind of going into this?
Well, it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
Because as we say, everybody talks about leading by example.
Yeah.
Right? But somebody's got to set the bar,
Example,
right?
you know?
So my mom and dad, early on, with a little bit of money that they were making, always found ways to take care of people, the less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And you always wonder, why? I could go buy another toy with that money. Why are we giving that money away, right? As a kid, you were
Sure.
like, why are we doing this,
Yeah,
right?
you don't understand what they're doing.
Because they always explain, well, there are always going to be people with more, but there's always going to be people with less. So our job is to take care of the people with
What
less.
did they do? Did they have a restaurant? I forgot. I've heard the story a million times,
Yeah.
but I don't remember. Did they have a restaurant? Or?
They still have the restaurant on Balboa Island,
Yeah,
the
right.
Shanghai Pine Garden. So it's been there for over 50 years.
Yeah.
But more important, they had restaurants in Brazil and other parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But they always found ways to give back. And, whether it was their hometown, to friends, whatever they did, it was always there. But the funniest story is my parents still live on Balboa Island. And for the longest time, probably one of the first and only Asian family that lives on that
Balboa,
island,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But they would go around the island, and around every street, there's a trash can,
Yeah.
right? So as they walk around the
Yeah.
island, they would pick up empty cans and bottles out of the trash can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now imagine, if you don't know them, you're like, oh yeah, these poor Asian kids, whatever, or family, whatever, right? So one of our neighbors called us and says, now that you guys are rich and famous, what are you doing to your parents?
Yeah,
And we're
cut them
like,
off.
Yeah,
They're still picking up.
yeah, and we're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Why are they picking up, And I said, oh, because they're setting an example for the rest of the temple.
Yeah.
Because it's not beneath them to do that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be beneath you.
Right.
And they're like, oh, so they don't need the money. He goes, no.
I remember meeting some
That's pretty
Vietnamese
awesome.
immigrants, a family that started some small businesses in Little Saigon. This was years ago, and they said, you guys don't understand. We see California and Orange County in America as the land paved with gold. Only you're too lazy to reach over and pick it up. They no matter how much money, they would still reach over and pick up a dime or a dollar or a nickel off the pavement. Today, my grandsons would just walk right over that.
Well, I think part of it also is that sort of the immigrant story a little bit.
Yeah.
Having a little bit more worldly kind of exposure that also gives you a perspective. I mean, you just mentioned a couple of places that your parents were there. They saw all that sort of inequality,
Yeah.
and yet, everybody has value. So if you
Yeah.
get your head in that space, then you got to do stuff like that. I mean, Russ is sitting off camera, but I know, he's out there doing stuff as well. He's been doing stuff when city council, and then after and before. And I think that is by example. I mean, to your point, your parents were an example.
Yep.
And they're still living the path, in a way, right?
Yeah, and the fun, like these stories, I mean, they make you laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we've all seen that Salvation Army like person outside of a supermarket,
Yeah.
with the bell, and everybody makes a point to kind of dodge them.
Yeah.
Right. And my dad saw it and asked the same question to one of his friends. He goes, "Why are you dodging that
Yeah.
guy?" Because, well, I really, whatever, right? So my dad said, no. So my dad went, got a bell, stood outside of a Chinese supermarket in Monterey Park, and would not let anybody go by him. And people are like, you can't like solicit. You know what I
You're
mean?
accosting people with
Yeah.
your bill.
But my dad didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And he made a lot of money for the church.
Listen,
You know?
if not by the grace of God,
Yeah.
there go I, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that is very true. I'm reminded everything. I mean, I live in San Clemente, and every time I drive PCH and it's late at night and I'm coming back, let's say from, having dinner at Broadway or something at a Mars place, and I drive by and there's like 2 or 3 people that are literally sleeping on the sidewalk
Yeah.
right by the 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
And they're sleeping there together because of safety in numbers.
Yep.
And that's a very much a reality check
Yeah.
as you're entering a place that has all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad. Like, I mean, we've had conversations about these issues on the show before. We had John Stevens on there. We were talked about, sometimes everybody feels, and Russ, I think we talked about it when you were on the show, that these things require community solutions. They
Yeah.
require regional solutions.
Yeah.
And
We
everybody's
talked
got
about
to roll
that
up
when
their
you
sleeves.
talked to all
Yeah.
the politicians in this
Yeah, you
past
got
cycle.
to. I mean, we interviewed. Yeah, I mean, Russ was one of them running for city
if
council. There was 18 people we interviewed, and it was
Yeah.
like it's obvious. Rolling up the sleeve. People donate in different ways, right?
But we live in our
But
silos.
volunteering and rolling up your sleeves and actually putting yourself out there, like your dad with the bell, there is no different. If not by the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
What was
know,
that, Paul? Sorry.
I was just going to say, but yet, and particularly in Orange County, we live in our own little silos. We're 34 cities. We don't have one sort of cohesive center gathering or whatever. 34 communities, 34. And in some sense, we all live in our own little bubble.
Yep.
And it's gotten worse with social media in the modern world. I want to hear about the 80s when it was a really tiny bubble. Because I came to L.A. And worked up in the entertainment industry in the 80s and had the misfortune to come down to Orange County a couple times and we were like, grown.
Well-
It's behind the orange curtain.
Let's get
There's
back.
nothing there.
Let's get back to that, Paul, in a bit, because I don't want to lose the fact that here we are, Orange County,
Yep.
stepping up, and by example, 2 gentlemen that are sitting right here, stepping up and actually helping with a current situation in a different county altogether.
Yep.
Okay.
Sure.
And so let's talk about that a little bit, right? What have you guys been doing? I know Pascal was on. We interviewed with the chefs that last week. But Wing, was this a natural growth, like from the efforts like you guys were doing with the Love Drop? Was this a separate thing? How did you kind of channel that energy and maybe even the volunteers?
And,
that you
and
had
what are you
access to?
doing with it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, Thursday I got the call from the Ronald McDonald House people, which I've already worked with,
Right.
right? The next morning, Chef Robert through Rick Bosworth calls me and they goes, "Hey guys, we're gonna go to the Rose Bowl on Sunday in 2 days, and we've been told that the firefighters need some energy drinks."
Okay.
And they know that I have a partnership with Monster Energy Drink.
Right.
I'm like, no problem. So what are you saying? He goes, "Can you get us some?" I'm like, let me make a phone call.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm going to go up to Rialto and pick up a pallet, about $5,000 worth of product. They're like, great. And they said, and by the way, can you keep it in your car? And I'm like, why? Because, well, we don't have anywhere to put it. So I went from picking up to all of a sudden going, I have a feeling I'm going to end up delivering this, but let's see what happens. Then I get another phone call a couple of minutes later from Jana at the American Red Cross. And basically said, hey, I hear you guys are coming. And I'm like, yeah, we're coming. And who'd you guys talk to? And I assumed that Robert, Pascal, Rick, somebody had called them. Well, nobody bothered to call them. And they're like, and by the way, there's this thing called liability, and you are an official partner of the Red Cross. Between you and Charles, you guys have done over 150 blood
Yeah,
drives
yeah.
during the pandemic. Who are these other guys? And I said, well, they're amazing chefs. Goes, well, how do we know that? Right? We don't have time to flush them out. You're talking, you're going to be here in 2 days. And he goes, and what are you bringing? He goes, we're bringing 1,000 meals. And they're like, what?
Yikes.
So he goes, let me make some phone calls. So between Friday and Sunday morning, we were told, because you can't come to the Rose Bowl because it's barricaded. Because besides the people that from the community that are really trying to help, there's two other groups, the looky-loos and the looters. Well,
yeah.
we don't know who they are,
Right.
and we just can't let any vehicle come in.
Right.
So can I send you guys up the road to the convention center where all the families are being displaced and they need to come there? I'm like, it's 5 minutes
Yeah,
difference
it
for
doesn't
us.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So we rallied the troops, and then they said, hey, by the way, you need to lead the charge because we recognize your vehicle, because not only does it have Wahoo's, it's got the California Love Drop Act,
Right.
and we can tell,
Right. It's a known entity.
yes, the police and the volunteers, when you see the Wahoo's California Love Drop, please let them through. So we gathered a few trucks, and Pascal was driving shotgun with me, and off we went. And we were able to deliver Gatorade, Monster Energy drink, as long as all the amazing meals they prepared,
Yeah.
and some snacks. And that was the first weekend.
Well, and that brings up a really good point for everybody who's well-intentioned and wanting to basically help. That there's a procedure, because that liability is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, who the heck knows what's in those meals?
Yes.
Who's basically vouching for these people, right? Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first step. So then after we delivered, basically the people said, okay, now we have a lot of other people. So we kind of all have to divide. And I said, so what are you saying? He goes, you're going to have to go to different places. So we rallied the troops again. He goes, okay, give us a map, the locations. And we ended up literally ping-ponging across LA County, going to 7 different locations. And the first weekend was 1,000. The second weekend was 1,275, and this weekend we're waiting for the final head count. But there may
Maybe
be
2,500.
yeah, maybe 2,500. But there's this thing called weather coming in, rain, which could help and could
Hurt, right.
yeah, because with the rain it might be easier to bring ready to eat meals
Right.
as opposed to stand outside at a food
And,
truck.
and serve.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're dealing with that, and then starting last week, we also started going to Pacific Palisades, where the fires, I believe, are somewhat halfway contained, not complete like Altadena is. So this weekend, I'm organizing a group with Pascal to lead the charge.
Malibu.
Yeah, with Nancy Luna for the Orange County Business Journal,
Right.
to really tell their side of the effort, because they are leading the charge. And we do have some friends with food trucks there as well that we're
Right.
bringing supplies for them.
Right.
So again, it'd be a really great group effort. But the interesting, funny part about all this, one of the guys that's in charge of the logistics, organizing how everybody gets in and out, think of the largest event that takes place in Southern California. It's called Coachella.
Yeah.
So I have one of my friends from Coachella
Who's organizing?
or like doing the logistics, trying to make sure who gets in, who gets out.
Yeah.
So again, because we have this relationship,
Right.
it's easy for us to get in and out of these places.
Well, and you've been doing this long enough that you have the experience to pull on the people. What are some of the things that you guys have been doing this for a couple of weeks. I'm assuming this effort is going to be a long, ongoing thing.
We're talking about
unfortunately.
at least 4 to 5 more weeks.
Yeah.
And until things get more subtle.
Right.
I need to pinpoint that there's one chef very involved. Is Robert Duval.
Yeah.
He really lead the whole group of chefs, of volunteers,
Yeah.
and give us schedule of work.
Yep.
And he rally all the donation. Everything's 100% donated.
Yeah.
Everything's 100% volunteer.
Yeah.
We don't take anything back.
Are you able, and you when Robert was here and you were here last week and we were talking about this, we were talking about some of these logistics as far as like not having perishable stuff that we can't use in time. Like people want to donate and give you, but you need storage facility, you need refrigeration, you need stuff like that. How are you guys doing on that stuff? Are
We
you
have a great facility. It's
Yeah.
from a fantastic Canadian company. It's called Time Well Spent.
time well spent? Yeah.
And have a huge walking, and we preserve everything. But we are professional. We know the lifetime of every
Right.
ingredient, and we label everything. And so we try to make it very professional to make sure we bring food that is
So what are
healthy as well.
what are some of the things that you guys, having been doing it now for a couple of weeks, that are still things that you need? Like, is it just manpower, hand on deck? What's
The biggest thing is supplies. One of the things that none of these guys, because I've been through it for 5 years.
Sure.
After the first weekend, it goes, hey, by the way, containers, utensils, the transportation to and from. So right now we're covering the transportation, the delivery part, because traveling, gas is not cheap right now.
Right.
But we got that. We have the vehicles. But starting this week, we got a couple of different vendors to step up and actually donate more.
How about like refrigeration or something? Does it have to stay cold? I mean, so you're keeping it for hours and hours and hours. Do you have giant refrigerator trucks? or-
Fortunately, we were able to put everything ice cold in containers
Yeah.
in a Cambo box, like we call something like that,
Right.
and goes fast. And the weather was good.
weather's
for
been
us.
good, yeah.
But now I don't know if it warm up. Like today, we went to a
So you have the transportation in place. You have the vehicles that you need. You have the drivers that you need. Okay.
So right now it's basically funding the supplies.
Okay.
So whatever we can't get donated, because a lot of people donate the cans, the pastas, a lot of the stuff, the food part.
Right.
So we're now have one of our friends, a couple of them, working on all the containers and all the perishables.
Right.
So it's a group effort. And the biggest guy that has stepped up is Ed Hart from First Bank. He's not only been there the last 2 weekends,
Yeah.
he's actually found money to cover some of the items that we can't get donated.
That's awesome.
Can we do a shout out to ask anybody who have a connection to get us more refrigeration transportation?
That's why I brought up.
That's what I'm leading to. Is
Yes.
what is it
Very
that we need to
Right.
basically ask people?
Oh yeah, so the big gigantic like igloo coolers, Yeti coolers, things that basically keep things hot and cold when you transport them.
Okay.
Because I've been a lot of items, but again, we have enough time to put them in cardboard boxes, but it'd be better if we can put them in a insulated box.
And stuff that is manageable and that you can transport, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
not so
even,
massive
uh,
that it
also like rental refrigerated van or
That's
truck.
what I was saying. There
Yeah.
are those
Okay.
rental
Yeah.
trucks or
Yeah.
refrigerate.
Okay.
Keep stuff cold. How do people find you to get the food? Is this being? Who tells the people to come to these places and this stuff
Oh,
is available?
They have their own system, a Red Cross first.
Yeah.
So
And
there are
then-
already relief centers that
Yes.
people are
and-
going to.
And the last time we went to the Scientology Center,
Yeah.
and everybody there. And whatever you think people are taking advantage of the the food we bring,
Yeah.
either they're victims of the fire or not. Personally, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because this is
Right,
something,
no, it's-
something we should do.
So then have to show
should
driver's
be-
license and say I
no,
lived in the
should be an
Palisades or something. here,
Ongoing things. People are starving every day, not only just during the fire time. And so I think what we do really
Well,
see perks.
yeah, and that point comes up regardless, whether it's the current LA fire, relief effort or homeless or
Yeah.
whatever, right? You always have these people that are basically using that odd situation. And it's granted, a few rotten apples, ruin the barrel, but they use that as an excuse to almost stop or stifle the effort.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because whatever that abuse factor is, it's so minuscule.
Yeah, no.
It's like you're going to basically paint everybody who's homeless as being by choice. This
Yeah.
makes no sense, right? So yeah, no, I agree
It's
with
a
you.
community
Absolutely,
giving.
absolutely.
That's very
Hey,
important.
10 meals go to somebody that basically was trying to weasel and work the system. Okay, well, 2,000 other meals went
Yeah.
to the people that needed them,
Yep.
right? What is the I know that there's a lot of people that have been displaced and stuff like that, and we touched on it a little bit last week. But you guys are in the business. What about the people that are basically been displaced from as far as their jobs? I mean,
We're offering to open our doors and take an extra employee, kitchen or the servers. Whoever want to look for a job doesn't mind to go drive down to Orange County. We can. We're there. For
because I know people that have been displaced and lost their homes that are actually all of a sudden there's an influx of people that are looking for places to rent in Orange County.
Yeah.
You know, furnished or whatever. I mean, these people have nothing. And, you know, then their kids have been displaced out of the school system. Now they got to basically figure out a way to try to maintain less disruption on that side. But I keep going back to the people, you know, the servers, the line cooks, the people that basically, you know, in the food and beverage or the retail, that it's just, those places are gone.
Well, maybe it's another challenge we need to do to landlords, real estate company, that say, hey, for a certain period of time, you know, we're going to give you some special deal so you can relocate it.
I mean, there is a lot of empty real estate lease spaces right now, right? It's kind of interesting how a problem of this kind of magnitude sometimes actually has some silver linings if you choose to look at them. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about how we were all having a real hard time with home insurance and companies pulling out of the state.
Yep.
And now all of a sudden, there's this massive footprint that has to be rebuilt, and we are a very construction and real estate driven economy. If they don't pick it up, somebody's going to come in and say there's an opportunity here, and there will be a solution that comes out of this. That had we not had the unfortunate situation happen, we'd be waiting 20 years for that solution to maybe manifest itself. It's kind of interesting if you really look at it, right? There could be something. So I mean, you guys are saying 4 to 6 months. I think this impact of this thing is going to be a lot longer.
It'll be a lot longer. I mean, 4 to 6 months, I think, until the dust kind of settles a little bit. But as we can tell from the Malibu fires, the Sonoma fires, a lot of that is still not
That landslide that happened,
Yep.
Appalachian area, like last year.
We had on our show, Barry Saywitz does a commercial real estate show, which he had your brother on a year or two ago. But he was saying with some experts, folks, this is going to take a year or two to build this stuff, just to get even with the expedited permits, to get the insurance settlements, to clear it, and to get the permits, and to draw up new plans and all this stuff. This could easily be a couple of years.
For sure. I will tell you from my perspective on the construction and design side of things, it's going to take. It doesn't matter how expedited the process is. You're still going to have the steps in the process that you have to go through.
Oh yeah.
And if there's new regulations that, you know, I go back to the Malibu fire. When the Malibu fire happened, the new regulations required separate tanks of water on property, and people were trying to game the system and work around that, and basically back and forth and back and forth. So as expedited as it was, if you're trying to basically figure out a workaround, now it's going to take longer. It's going to get more costly.
So who is going to implement that?
That is really the question, because you cut red tape all day long, it's fine, all right. But if you don't implement, like you could have sprinklers on roofs, right? You could have addition. I mean, if you're in a hillside and the fire hydrant line basically runs below, okay, unless you're defying gravity, how is the water going to get to that height and then not take away from the pressure everybody else needs, right? So there needs to be an enforcement factor, but I think that falls on the morality of that falls on everybody, like the architects, the land planners, the city, the plan checkers, to hold the line, literally.
Can we ask our friend, who is really great man from represent the Hawaiian Islands, how did they make it happen?
We're bringing Ross back. Ross has got more time on the show. He's not even the guest.
He's like the unknown comic with the bag, man.
He just came to get a free T-shirt from Wing Lam here
He's like,
today.
damn it, I ran for city council and now I'm out, and now you're going to pull me back in.
I can't miss him with his beautiful Hawaiian shirt.
Should we give him a mic? You want to give him a mic?
How did they?
Yeah, give Russ a mic. I mean, Pascal insists on talking to him, so.
But here's an interesting thing, a fact, and to all the listeners, very important thing. Some people purposely, and some because of, I call it lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So let's not blame anybody,
No,
right?
no.
But when you buy a car, whatever the purchase price of the car is what your insurance is.
Yep.
And cars depreciate. So if you bought it for 50, by the time, depending on when you had the accident or whatever, right? And it's a total, whatever the replacement value is at the time, but it's based on what the car is value at the time of the accident.
Right.
So it may not be 50 anymore.
Correct.
If anything, it'll be at least, 20 to 30% less, right?
Yeah.
But a house appreciates. Very few houses depreciate in value. So something for all the homeowners out there. most people that I know have home insurance based on purchase price, not replacement value.
Right, because they're trying to minimize their insurance payment.
Well, again, whether it's purpose or lack of knowledge. So a big reason why a lot of people in Malibu could not go back to their houses, because they bought it for 100,000 or $1 million, and it's worth 10 million now, and they only got what they.
I think we're a little cheap.
Well,
when we
I
buy a
think
house. We try to cut down.
I think
the
a whole
cost.
bunch of people that currently are living, and to be honest, we are also an aging population in Southern California. So you got people that basically have been holding onto these houses to use them as a piggy bank with reverse mortgage down the road, so they can sustain their existence, right?
Yes.
Later in life. So you're now looking at a piece of property where the house was purchased, let's say, for $500,000 or whatever, right? And it's now 6 or 7. But it's not the house; it's the land and the location, right? So you're going to basically be facing: do I rebuild? They're not going to rebuild. They're going to cash out on this thing
Also,
and
not
then go somewhere else.
everybody live there. Sometimes they say it's just my California home.
Yeah.
You know? But going back to you,
Yes.
now that you have a
Now he's
microphone,
mic'd up. Okay.
how can you tell us how did Maui was able to rebuild if it's not
And
fully
hasn't
rebuilt yet?
fully rebuilt yet after Lahaina was wiped
What's
out.
the system? Is there a system in place there?
So thank you for giving me a microphone. Now you're never going to get the show back because I've been quietly sitting here. It's been so hard for me not to say something because, first of all, I'll just touch on the first thing that I wanted to comment on, which is that tomorrow night I am leaving the Orange County Fire Authority board. I've been on that board for many years.
Wow. Yeah.
And so the comments about hardening the homes and the targets and making sure that they're fire resistant, the Fire Authority in Orange County and the LA Fire Department also, they have what they call fuel modification zones. So there is an obligation to make sure the water lines are clear and that the zones around residents and businesses are clear to a certain number of feet.
Yeah.
And so the fire experts know that, but then when you have a catastrophic size event like the Los Angeles fires, it's almost hard to predict.
Right.
And I'm also the Red Cross Southern California volunteer leader.
Wow,
And
okay.
and so I
Why
get
didn't we book him on the
I
show?
don't know.
Why did he
No,
just
when Russ
stumble
was on last time, we talked about the fact that he was also very instrumental in the provision of that helicopter landing pad.
Oh, yeah, thank
remember? And we were, I can't remember, Russ, whether it was just around the same time or we had just gone through those fires, where like the airport fire down in South Orange County and so forth. I mean, we had a flash fire that happened near Pico and La Plata in San Clemente yesterday or the day before, and they took care of it right away. But you were there. I mean, you've been in the trenches on this stuff locally in your roles.
And the Red Cross has predicted, and this is unusual because I was an employee of the Red Cross for 4 years, and now I'm their volunteer leader. And I know Jana very well, and the reason she stopped you, Wing, is because she is a stickler. And as soon as you said Jana, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, I know exactly what happened there. But the Red Cross has predicted that they're going to be sheltering for a minimum of 90 days, which is highly unusual.
Yeah.
So you're right, this is going to go on for a tremendous amount of time. And it was, over a year ago, and you're asking about Maui, Pascal. So a year ago, I put on the Music for Maui concert as a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Right out of the gate, just buying tickets to come to the show, $8,000 went to the Red Cross. But then tens of thousands of dollars came afterward to try and support the rebuild effort. And now it's quiet. And that's because there is this instantaneous response that isn't necessarily sustainable. And so now you see there are a lot of nonprofits that have either cropped up or joined forces in Maui to rebuild Lahaina. And the advantage that Maui had is that there was a lot of seasonal hotel space that was vacant. So there were places for the residents to go. But you see in Los Angeles, people are coming to Orange County.
Right.
Laguna Beach, it's almost impossible to get a hotel room right now. And just last week, I was talking to the general manager of the Renaissance Club Sport in Aliso Viejo, and I said, hey, do you have a lot of evacuees here? And on Tuesday, she said, no, we've got like 2 families. And on Thursday, she
Are
said,
we sure that the hotel industry is not going to splurge on that?
well, they're not. The good players are not. And what the Renaissance told me was, we've got 30 rooms now with families from Los Angeles, and we're preserving a block of rooms for the firefighters who are coming from out of state, the strike teams that are coming to help our firefighters. So that's a long answer to Pascal's question, which is a lot of the things that crop up to support long-term rebuilding and sustainability, they're coming from nonprofits that are joining forces.
I was driving from Boise back to California when these fires were I think when I flew out, I could see the fires, and it was nighttime, and the fires, I think it might have been Altadena or Malibu. This is nighttime. The fires were so intense that in the glow of the fire, I could still see the smoke black, like it was a refinery black fire in the air, right? And when I was driving back from Boise, I drove the Oregon Trail. Beautiful scenery, empty line. I'll tell you what, the most cars that I saw on that heading to California were fire authority trucks, were EMTs. I mean, it was from states and states far.
From little towns all across
to
the
your
area,
point,
yeah.
though, Russ, this is the same thing as talking about the people that were displaced that were in the food and beverage industry or whatever. These people are coming in. We have to understand that they are going to need accommodations as well.
Yeah.
And the other thing you pointed on to, and this is why I kept asking about how long, because I was trying to get to the point of the fact that exactly what you said, there is an instantaneous outpouring. But then what happens after it is no longer newsworthy,
We are going to keep it going.
right?
And what is
Of
Maui
course.
like today? I don't hear anybody talk about it. Has
No
it
one's
been
talking
rebuilt?
about it.
Is it
Yeah.
is it still flattened? Is it still?
It's in the
charred?
rebuilding process, and there are vendors who have come in with tiny home type solutions and that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But to get it back to the level of the resort community it was, it's
gonna take years.
Yeah, it's going to take years, maybe
Years,
a decade.
and it'll never be exactly the same. I'll tell you the interesting thing about Lahaina is I keep getting pictures on my social media about the banyan tree.
Yeah.
And
The
it's
banyan tree
The
is
famous
amazing.
tree.
but
Yeah.
it's almost like a litmus check-in test, right? But which I love the fact that they're doing that, but at the same time, I'm not reminded of the actual stuff that's damaged. So I see the tree that's blooming,
But
and
so
so now I don't have to
such
worry,
a
and I
big-
can sleep easy, right?
So it's a big
But
symbol.
Right. So to Pascal's point, I do want to just put it out there. We will keep focus on this because there will always be, if we're not talking about the fire and the food delivery, there will be other stuff. There'll be the insurance. There'll be how is it going through the permitting, what's happening for enforcement. So we will continue to talk about this because, yes, it will go away. It will no longer, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. It will stop being that and we'll have some
It'll
other
fade
story.
from the headlines.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm proposing, I'm sure Wing, that not only food industry, hotel industry, but other maybe contractors can collaborate with us. We can make whole complete collaboration.
I got one way you could hold everybody accountable. Make them wear red McDonald's socks here, and every time they see somebody who's not wearing them,
Bang.
there's a fine. Yeah, hold them accountable because that's the thing. We all get it. It's
It's
agree.
human nature to a certain extent,
Right.
but it's almost like, you understand that there are certain characteristics of a problem, right? One of the characteristics is that will always be like the next catastrophe we have, we'll still face the same damn thing. After the initial, here's what I got blankets, I got cans of food, I got everything in my house. I'm not even thinking where is it going to get stored, right?
Yeah.
And
But not only this, we have a lot of rich,
it goes away.
rich CEOs in Orange County. Can they collaborate and do something?
I think
Funding?
I think those, to Russ's point, those who are in the right mindset to volunteer and help with this have always done so.
Yeah.
They will still step up to the plate. It's just a matter of people not knowing maybe where to channel
Where
that
to give
energy.
them a
So we need to let them
direction.
know
Yes.
that there are things, and to, you guys talked about, I mean, we live in a litigious society, so the liability factor is real and genuine. I can't blame her for basically bringing that out. It
Putting
is
it- putting a
one
slow
person
down.
going, I ate something and I had a reaction to it, and all of a sudden we're displaced from the effort. Now we're dealing with the legal, right?
But two things.
Yeah.
One is people want to know where to give money to a credible source, and the Red Cross is always a credible source.
Right.
You know what's going on with them.
Right.
And then to Wing's point, leading by example, if there is foundational leadership. Like I know when I go onto social media, I'm going to see Wing Lam and Charles Antis, and they're going to be doing a love drop, or they're going to be supporting, and they're in my feed, and that's the example that other CEOs can follow, and that's what's so critically important.
But I'll tell you something else, Russ, and to that point, sometimes that leadership also has to draw other people in.
Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes when I look, I'm wired. We're kind of wired the same way, right? So the fact that I see Charles and Wing and you and doing stuff, it makes me go, okay, when are you guys getting together to deliver the food so I can basically come and do some of that? Some other people see that and go, okay, it's being handled.
Right.
Some do, but I like to think that most.
And I don't mean
like
it
you
in a
do.
bad way.
Right.
They're
right.
just like, it's being handled.
Right.
It's
We
great.
know,
I
we-
can write that check, and that's fine. But I think sometimes, because if you have more people, call them ambassadors by example, that are out there doing this, right? And we know this. We're all in the same circle. Like, there are people, they're like, oh yeah, here we go. They're doing that. They're doing that, right? But you need to bring in, either it's the younger generation of people, encouraging. Some people get a little bit intimidated. Like this is like handled by a certain entity,
Well,
and we forget to invite people in to come in
you're
and
right,
participate.
because I think we just take care of it. But
Yeah.
it's not enough.
Yeah.
The OGs will do it. One of the reasons I asked the question
The
I
OGs
did
and the goats. Don't
at the
forget the goats.
beginning is I think Orange County was a smaller community. Everybody knew each other. Certainly the surf community, certainly the beach communities. You're all from that era. You're all from those places. I think you have a more of a community mindset because of it. As Orange County has grown to be 3.5 million plus people, and now it's corporate, and now it's skyscrapers, and now I don't know that it has that same small town.
I don't know, man.
Roll up the sleeves. feel to it.
You're a little bit of a
Nathan.
glass half empty kind of sometimes. I think there are people, whether it's younger people, whatever. To Wing's point, I mean, my example is I saw my father, whether it's family or extended family, or whether it's putting people through school that could not afford to go to school. That you would leave people. Remember a while ago I said one of the most kind of eye-opening things for me was when I saw somebody say, not leave it better than you found it, but leave them better than you found them. Like it was a personal to the person, not to the thing, right? Yeah. I think people have that in them, whether it's upbringing, whether it's exposure, whether it's they struggle, they've seen other people struggle, and they see that. I think what it is sometimes we forget that we need to invite people in to do that, and not just through the sort of the structured infrastructure. Like it's more like bring people out, have them engage in a civic situation, in a relief situation, and we're busy doing it, right? But I think it's a legacy you pass on.
And you have no idea, or you may have an idea, but I don't know, you too. Okay, we work out, produce, deliver, it's so rewarding.
Nobody can write you a check with any dollar amount on it
When you
that
go
will
home
reward you like volunteering for something.
When you get home at night, say, "Oh, I did it."
Right.
It's good, and we did
That
it.
feeds part of your soul that no check is ever going to.
Exactly.
And I have a group of students from Aliso Niguel High School that I mentor, and just last night at that event we had, they said, is there something we can do for, and this is all the way South Orange County, Aliso Viejo, they said, can we do something to help? And these are 15, 16-year-old students.
Right.
And they said, is there something we can do? And I said, I know the right person. and when I saw Wing's post, I have to say this is part of my nature, for better or for worse. When I saw your post with Charles and the things that you did, I thought, shoot, they didn't ask me to help. And that's me. And I was.
Wayne, you got to remember to invite Russ.
You're not in the loop. Say, what can I do to help?
I need to be the one to ask instead of saying, can I get one of those sweatshirts? I need to be able to say, hey.
I used to be on a board of an organization that it's still around, but the chapter in Orange County didn't survive the 2008 thing. It was called Rebuilding Together.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like Habitat, but when Habitat was doing nothing but new, we were actually doing remodel, painting, changing the AstroTurf on a ramp for a lady who's like in her 80s pushing her daughter who's in a wheelchair in her 50s, no hot water in that trailer park in Buena Park, that kind of stuff, right? I got to tell you, you had the corporate companies where you had that day of service and you brought people in, right? But you also had students, you had people, and they're people that were qualified to have a nail gun and a saw, and there are people who were not. But we still needed to figure out what do we give them that was satisfying for them, to Pascal's point, at the end of the day, where they felt they tangibly contributed. And it may have been a paintbrush, it may have been, packing some meals, it may have been whatever, right? So that's what I'm saying is, I think we, as Paul puts it, the OGs, the goats, whatever, I think we have an opportunity also that we need to remember that it's a legacy we pass on.
Yes.
And if there's an organized effort to do that, then we are basically arming the next generation of people to take on that mantle.
And I think I can talk for all of us. I don't mind to be associated. I would love to be more associated, more involved with American Red Cross. And we need to let them know that we are here to be part of their whole organization. Because for me, they're the one I trust the most around. And with them, knowing that we are here, maybe they can even give us even more motivation, more output.
Yeah, but this is not going to be done in 4 months.
No.
I mean, we'll change the focus of the effort, maybe to what's something more critical at that point in time. But this is going to go on for years.
Can you contact the American Red Cross? Your contact
I've
there?
been talking to her I talk to Jenna every day.
We've had
Jenna,
we've
if
If he
had
doesn't
the-
call her, she calls him.
The executive director of the American Red Cross Southern California, you're never going to forget her name. Her name actually literally is Becky Fiery.
Oh, Becky.
And
yeah.
Becky she oversees everything. Jaina is an incredible resource that I've got to work with over the years, and they are a wonderful organization. And also their website is so easy to remember. It's just redcross.org.
But we never think of them until it hits.
Yep.
We tend to have them in our studio only when it's earthquake week and earthquake preparedness, because they do that big thing. Or there was a fire somewhere. It's usually sort of after the fact. We don't think of them beforehand, I don't think. I don't know.
Because everybody's busy with their own lives.
Right.
And
They're busy with their own priorities. But that personality of volunteering, I think that's what I'm talking about. I think we all could easily put that aside.
Well, you guys
But
got
they're-
it, and I don't know how we could bottle it and share it, but not everybody's got it. They might have it somewhere, but it's in the storage somewhere.
So are you going to go to the next Catholic Cigars and Bourbon and volunteer, Paul?
Because they got.
Can we get you at least to volunteer for that? It's not too far for you.
If they bribe me that openly, yes, I'll
If they
go.
bribe me that openly, I'm a
I
recovering
can bring a bag.
Catholic going for cigars and bourbon.
I can bring a bag of ice if you want me to. And
Yeah.
So you bring back the earthquake thing. I think what we're learning now is to maybe lessons for the next disaster that could happen.
This
to
isn't
us.
the last disaster we'll go
By
through.
the way, but speaking of lessons, since we're on that for a second, right? It's if I look at commercial development and I look at residential development, right? You've been at it from the sort of the city side and permitting side. You guys have been at it from the commercial side. We are required to do certain things in the commercial setting that they don't put that pressure on residential, right?
Right.
And I understand the
Fire
cost
sprinklers
impact,
and
whatever,
stuff,
but
yeah.
in the long scheme of things, I think there are the technologies to withstand hurricanes. There are the technologies to do, small tilt-up residential, right? That's still earthquake safe, right? You can still do safety on the materials and how you protect roofs. The safety barriers, the margins for no vegetation, right? That fire departments are now applying.
Well,
right?
sprinklers, overhead
Because
sprinklers.
last time I looked, we live in a desert. There's winds blowing off the ocean, and I don't think wildfires are going to stop.
Do you think?
So
sorry,
those
I'm going to-
lessons, I
going to
think,
mention
need
a
to
big
be
name. You think the oven company will learn something that now they build up more and more into the wild? That's things going to happen.
You want me to get kicked out the studio, kicked out?
Yeah.
You take on the Irvine Company now here?
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks, Pascal. I appreciate that.
But keep paying your rent.
Let's go kick out. Let's take.
he's trying to pay his rent, man.
kick the bear. Let's poke the bear here, right?
If you do get displaced, though, I know where you can get some
Yeah,
meals.
right, exactly.
Yeah. Come on, I live in Tustin.
Oh my
You
goodness.
have to go to the Rose Bowl. You can get
Only
your meals there.
Pascal would open up. Let's take on the. Let's get somebody for. Let's get the Irvine Company.
Well,
on
yes,
phone
the
here today.
Frenchman is in the room, of course. He's the resistance.
The bomb thrower.
I'm very neutral.
Viva la resistance. So what's the next one you guys are working on? Is it this weekend?
Yeah. This weekend. We
Okay.
got troops ready, and we're just finalizing. Tomorrow, I'll have a small little drop.
Okay.
Michaela from KTLA called me yesterday, and she's got a little small charity in downtown LA that needs some help.
Cool.
So I'll be delivering 90 meals there.
Do you
70.
guys have a website, place to go to donate, to see what you need, to volunteer, to give some money?
Anybody who's been listening to us and hasn't tuned
Yeah.
us out to maybe,
Yeah.
you know.
So where right now we send them if they want to do more?
The best is the resource is money. Go to the CaliforniaLoveDrop.org website and earmark fire relief. So
Okay.
we know that the money's going specifically to take
For
care
fire
of
relief.
And I, for one, am just a sucker for the California Love Drop. You know, it's like the Love Boat, the California Love Drop. I
Okay,
just
Captain
love it.
Stupid.
But you can also go to
Lots of places. I'm saying.
on Facebook, on the social media.
Okay.
Go to Robert Duval. He's kind of a coordinator and sending
Robert
a message.
Duval,
Robert
Duval, one L or two L's?
2 L's.
to us.
to us,
Yeah.
like the actor. So.
Yeah, I mean, you know, anybody who's listening to this knows how the hell to get hold of me, and you could trip over Wing on social, right? And Pascal is right there, especially after the beard. He's just going for that, the debonair French kind of captain.
You
look,
know
right?
why I go a beard? Because people say, who is the host? The one with the beard. Not anymore.
So he's co-opting the beard so he can basically get
No,
equal feeling. But seriously, one thing I will say to anybody who is looking to participate, donate, get involved.
Yep.
Be careful who you're involved with, to make sure that the effort and your goodwill actually gets to where you
Yeah,
intended
there's
to go.
some bad actors. That
Right,
pop
because
up,
it always happens, and we're trying to bring people on like Wing, because then you have a face to some of the things that who you're participating with, who you're getting involved in. And honestly, thank you very much for your writing a check, but just take it from me, if you can roll up your sleeves and show up in person, the reward on that is unbelievable.
If you have some bourbon and cigars, I might come.
And you don't have to be. You don't have to be
The
like
Diocese
me.
of Los Angeles, contact Paul
So I
Roberts.
volunteer.
And you don't have to,
No.
be like me and say, "Hey, why didn't they invite me?" You can say, "You know
Yeah,
what? I
right.
want to join."
Yeah.
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 I think we need a T-shirt that says "I was invited."
I got one last question to ask Wing, and I mean I don't know him as well as you guys do here, but I've seen him around town a couple times at events, and when he shows up, he's not anonymous. You have the most colorful car and stuff. I mean, don't you have like stuff all over your vehicle?
It's very understated.
Yeah.
Very. I mean, this is the guy in the house here. It's not like he just shows up quietly or something here. He hits. So if you can't find him, just watch for that car traveling around the freeways.
I have a little.
Pull him over.
a
Do
little-
people ever pull you over and say, "Are you like Wing?"
When I first met Wing, one of the first time, he was charitable for, I think, was for the Kidney Foundation at the Ritz-Carlton, and I was one of the chef honorees.
Right.
And we had this chef coat.
Chef Scott, yeah.
He came to me and said, "Can I have your coat?" I say, yeah, only if you give me your sushi shirt.
Yeah.
So now I have his sushi shirt.
There you go.
And do you have his coat?
I have his coat.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like as a soccer game. You change
Exactly.
jerseys.
Yeah,
Exchange jerseys.
That's fantastic.
I like it.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
We're wrapping up.
we are wrapping up, and I really, first of all, thank you, Wing, for being here. Really,
My pleasure.
I've been wanting you to come on for a while, and I really appreciate this. The circumstances, what they are, I appreciate your work. You guys are just doing awesome.
Next time we'll see Ross's face. I don't even know how he got in here, but
Russ is the voice.
He need,
The voice.
he
He's
need
the
makeup. He doesn't even need makeup.
No, Russ, I mean, I already invited him, and I invited him on the air. Like, you come on back, because we had you on when you were running for council. You're always doing good stuff. Doors open.
He does a
invitation
great
is open.
podcast, Ohana Stories. We're trying to get him to move it over here to our studio.
He does, yeah. He does. And check out his
If you
podcast.
still have the studio.
I'm not kicked
Well,
out by the
you
airline
might
company.
not be coming
Thank
back,
you.
Pascal, but
Well, let's take on the airline company.
thanks
there.
everybody for being here. Paul, thank you. Always exciting
Thank you, Wayne.
to have
Always a
people
pleasure.
on the show. That's why we've been doing it for 8 years.
It's the
8
rad life.
years we've been doing
It's
this.
the rad life. I
And
can't.
happy birthday.
I
Thank
can't.
you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And join us next week. Get out and volunteer, people.
Well, there you have it. One more reason to tune in each and every time to Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio. and our long-standing raconteurs and resident storytellers, the OGs, keep the county alive, the RAAD life.